Are you an investor in XRP? Do you understand this technology? Then you are an investor for your future. You're going to create generational wealth for your kids, grandkids, and for yourself too. One of the important stuff which we all have to understand, which is happening in the geopolitical scenario right now, is the de-dollarization and the new payment system. So the new payment system which we are talking about is going to be bigger than the existing one in next 3 to 5 years for sure. I'm going to give you my reasoning and why I think so using a lot of different macro indicators. And if you want to be that investor for 3, 5, 10, 15 years in different asset class, you need to know the macro perspective, because this is going to be super important for you as an investor in XRP, XLM, XDC, Quant, whichever payment token you are going to name. This is going to take that direction. So you are here listening to this, and you are going to listen to this till the end, so you know what is coming in next 10, 20, 30 years. Because when we talk about BRICS and their new payment system, right now you may not think that's really important, but look at the direction where the world is headed to. It's not only 2050 we are looking at 2030. That is not too long. Time just flies. So in that perspective, if you are an investor, you are looking at what's happening right now in different factors, parameters, and you do get into this stuff saying, okay, I do understand that I'm in the right place. So the new payment system is going to be decentralized. It can be the blockchain based system which we are talking about. And we all know central bank digital currencies are going to come out. So let's discuss this and how Ripple, Net, and XRP Ledger connected with Intelligible Protocol, the ILP, is going to change the payment space. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where we discuss crypto and science behind investing regularly. Yes, we do see the market moving up, down, with a lot of movements. But you also have to understand Bitcoin is still consolidating. That's why when you go on XRP BTC pair, you watch this. You had a break to the upside. You had these resistance level, which which were keeping you to the downside. But right now you're trying to break through that. You have a MACD, which is slowly moving to the upside. Now, okay, that's a 4-hour chart. You can step back, look at it daily, and still you're getting somewhere close to the same story, where it is suggesting you this level has been acting as a resistance for some time. Now we are slowly breaking through that. That's actually positive news. That means the market is understanding something. This is against BTC, right? Then you go to the XRP Ether. Again, another proof of work stuff. So you are looking at this and you're like, okay, this is slowly breaking to the upside. Now, remove those trend lines and just look at the pattern, what it's doing. It's a double bottom pattern which you're getting, and you're slowly riding to the upside. Now, take even 2-3 steps back and look at what's happening. The probability of you making a double bottom and moving higher is now increasing too much, because with a breakout here, this was your previous resistance. So you extend that line and you're like, okay, we tested that once, and right now you're about to break it. You're going through that. Look at the volume. That's showing you something. What? Change in the wind. It is. Why? Because the proof of work system, the impact, and the reality of a need for a best payment system to go on for a lot of different countries is here. Now, understand, we all know different stuff. Right now, politics is really bad. We are not into that. But we are looking at how we can invest based on the current scenario, right? China is doubling down on the trade with ruble. Now, what are they doing? They are literally, devaluing ruble, so they get higher purchasing power for their yuan, right? So, they get more ruble for the yuan. So your purchasing power just went up if you're buying something from Russia. So China is in a good position there while doing this and providing more liquidity there. Now it's okay. You understand, say India, if we are buying a lot of goods from US, the value of Indian rupees goes down. So if it's the opposite, that's great for India, right? Even though rupee is weakening, you get a lot more. That's how we work. When the price of an asset goes down, you buy more. Similarly, now the stuff which is happening in the Western world, talking about kicking Russia out of this, may seem too strong for the leader kind of stuff right now. But in the payment system like SWIFT, when you are taking them out, creating that weaponizing the payment finance infrastructure, it may not end well. Why? Because right now you are looking at this. Okay, exports by different countries. This is Russia, U3. You can actually watch this, how stuff is happening. Then you come to, okay, China, which is like 2.72 millions. Wow. Then you come to US. Okay, it's 2.12. So you're like, okay, what? China exports way more than US? Yes, it does. So now you need to understand, yes, exports are happening and how things are moving. Then you also go look at the population. Half of the world's population is focused in China, India, Pakistan, Brazil, Russia, if you take them all together, and then Bangladesh too, right? It all comes in one location. So when you go to the map and look at this, you actually get this one. China, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all of this being focused in one area. Wow, that's not a small deal, because when you look at stuff in big perspective, you are like, okay, population is there. So what? Yeah, that's a big question. Population, if it's just population, yeah, you can neglect it. But then you go look at the average age. Say this is China. Say if you are looking at the average age of China, it's 38.4. Why does it matter? You look at this. The population is 1.4 billion and the average age of that is 38. So half of China is still 38 and working age, producing more, buying more. The middle class is going up and that stuff. Now you come on to look for India. It's 28.7, which means they are out of the college, university, they're into the workforce, they're starting to save, they're starting to invest, they're going to buy more things. The economy is going to go big because half of that population is below 30. Now, when we talk about this, to get that perspective, you can go to the countries like Japan, Germany, Italy. You get these like they're close to 50. You get the point? They're closing to the retirement. Others are entering the workforce. So the amount of money which you're going to produce is going to be much more. Then you look at the imports. Yes, right now, US is the biggest. Then you have China followed by that. Then you look at top 10, you have India. Then you are looking for other nations like Russia. You get the perspective like money is moving. And then you're looking, okay, what will it look like in next 8 years, 2030? China is going to be biggest. Followed by United States and then India. So if China, India, Russia and others are going to enter this space, that's a different story, because you are looking for even further next decades to come, and by 2050, if you understand now, right now, yeah, if you look at this, China, US, now this is based on PPP, so it's not the normal GDP which you use, but if you look at this, you have this right now. The dynamics is playing out. Brazil is here, Russia is here, India and China. So now when you look for the long term, you're like, okay, China, India, then US. Okay, so US dropped to the third place. Then you have Brazil, Russia. So it's like the BRICS nations, if you take that and put it here, majority of them are going to be the biggest in GDP terms. So they are moving higher and the value of payments which is moving out from their country is increasing. So as it increases, you need to really focus on this one. As it increases, the idea of de-dollarization is gaining strength. People are working on that, different countries. Russia, China and EU was actually doing this a little bit before, right? Just the current issue is kind of, trying to isolate Russia. But before that, the strength of US dollar and the weaponization of the payment system has been highlighted by many countries many times. And that's when you go on looking at all this stuff. Okay, you're looking at the decentralized blockchain-based payments and you look at these countries. Then you kind of understand, okay, India has been a major player in blockchain-based payment system. You look at their domestic payment system, you look at how they are focusing on for the future, and you're like, okay, it is like, say for example, just take RippleNet. They have around 50% of Indian banks in their pipeline. That's huge. Now, look what's happening in Brazil. It's similar. So as Brazil, India, Russia, China, all of them are moving towards a new payment system, and they have already RippleNet building the pipelines of finance there. And that kind of gives you the narrative where you are looking at like the cross-border payments, which is one of the main stuff where the money comes in. Or in other words, say you're in a country, say for example India, and your currency is rupees. So now money is coming from other countries. It can be from Dubai, it can be from Qatar, it's just AD coming in, or Real coming in, or from US dollars coming in, Europe. So all of them are coming into your currency. You are trading with a neutral currency, which in this case is XRP. So that gives you the ability to kind of leverage the technology using, say, intelligent protocol, which kind of again gives you more freedom to reach the world of payments. And this shows you next 5-10 years is going to be heavy, because they are now going on to banking. Understand one step clearly. If you look at what Warren Buffett has done in last year, you can literally see he has went out of a lot of banks. He has still stayed on Bank of America. And if you look at how they are using RippleNet and their partnerships, their investments towards this technology, it will make sense to you. Then you're looking at, okay, what are they doing next? And they are coming on to new banks. And say, for example, this one, new bank, here is kind of showing you another step. Even though the case is still happening with Ripple, they are looking at this Brazilian bank, which is also a member of RippleNet. So they now have access to more markets for payments, and they make a lot more in money. And as the payments is becoming cheaper, they get more customers. So automatically, it's going to be scaled. They profit, their margin, everything is going to be scaled. And the customer satisfaction also goes up because the transfer is completed like this and at a lower cost. Instead of you going to a bank and sending $1,000, paying $100 fee, you're now going to do that using a fintech or any banks like this, which is partnered with technology providers like RippleNet, and do the same transfer $1,000, reach your destination in 5 minutes and pay $5 or even less than that. So compared to you paying the hefty amount in Swift, you are paying much less than that, right? So if you want to look at different examples, you can actually go look at, different payment providers just to get an idea of how things change. Say, this is just to show you from Korean won to US dollar. Say, for example, if I'm putting that into INR, because I'm using that to actually show you the biggest corridors, right? Say, towards India. So right now, you literally observe this, which, if you're going through a bank, you're going to pay the fee of 71,000 Korean won, which is like, $70. Whereas when you use this, you kind of literally pay 2,500 won. That's like $2. Does it make sense to you? You're only sending around $1,000, and this is the fee from the bank. So that is one of the major reason when these institutions, the e-commerce giants, all are entering into this payment space, because if you're going to buy a product which is worth $10, you don't want to pay a hefty fee for your payments, because it's affecting your customer, it's affecting you as Amazon, your margin, your profits and everything. So when you have technology to leverage like this, it really gives you that advantage. Now, why is all of these technology which I'm talking about is going to focus on these countries? Because the GDP is going to grow, you already know that. Now, what is the background for that? Because these countries are growing. Now, just population doesn't make sense, right? If that population is big, it doesn't mean it's going to be the biggest stuff for next 10 years. But look at the educated population. Look at the population who are entering into the workforce with skilled labors towards, the brainstorm, right? The actual brain damage which is happening for the West is like, you look at the number of engineers, doctors, lawyers in terms of, population, and you see it's reducing. Whereas if you look at countries like these, for example, India, most of them are engineers, doctors, lawyers. That look at Google, you'll understand who's leading that. Look at the top companies in the world and look at the CEOs, the top managers, and you're like, okay, say for example, you're looking at Sundar in Google and he's running that. Then you look at Satya Nadella. So you get these people who are at the top, fine, and this kind of trickle down to the bottom. People are looking up to them and they are trying to build their own something in their country. So the GDP is going to anyway grow and the investments are going to come into that country because of these factors. They all understand that. So generally, you now get the understanding of what XRP is going to do in the future. But technically, the same thing stands now. Because right now, when the price is kind of bottoming, you kind of look at different perspective. You can look at this in different ways, but this is one of the item which I'm looking at. It's so easy, it's so cool. If we are going to break through this one, we have a lot of room to the upside. Now, look at the MACD. If it's crossing to the upside here, you're going to slowly start the breakout. You're going to move to the upside. You're going to reach that level. So, yes, that is a point where you're going to be, that really can be euphoric. But yes, at this point, when the price is not moving that much, it is not. Right? You're looking at one point here. We've talked about this in many assets. And you're like, okay, if you are getting a falling wedge in your indicators, you are looking for what? A breakout. So right now, you are waiting for the MACD to cross and this flag to break to the upside. So this bullish pennant, when it's giving you the fair outcome, this is on a weekly. So each candle you're waiting is a week. So if you don't have patience, it's going to be really hard to see how this pattern unfolds and how your portfolio is going to grow. Because when you are literally at that point of breakout, you don't want to step away from an asset when it's going to do something great. After waiting this long, if you move out from an asset like this, when the fundamentals are gaining strength, technicals are showing it can blow off, it would be really hard. I've seen people literally, this is true to my knowledge. I had friends who had invested in XRP, back in the days when we were around 0.2, 0.3. They left the space and it just went to 0.7. Then we came back down. They were like, okay, first I missed when we were at 0.7. When it came back lower, they were like, okay, I'm fine. I took it 0.3 and the price is 0.1. What happened? It went to $2. So that kind of volatility will be there. If you can digest that, you can then stomach the profit. If you can't digest these volatility or the stagnation period like what we are having now, it's really hard for you to take the profits. If you want the profits, you need to go through the hard steps. You need to look at the market if you can digest that. Otherwise, if you're weak emotionally for finance, don't look at the market on a regular basis. Don't look at your portfolio. If you want to look at the coin updates, it's fine, but don't look at your portfolio. And when your portfolio reaches the destination or the targets you want, just take the profits at that point. Otherwise, don't do it. So that's one of the reasons why we try to keep you guys updated as much as possible for as many assets as possible. I try to regularly update my members in a way that they definitely understand what's happening in the market with all these coins, because it's really confusing when you have a ton of coins, because we've been talking about different stuff, right? So if you are looking at one of them, it's like, the strong. We were looking at a measured move and we had that stuff. So if you are into these passive income sources and others, you're looking for this and like, okay, it was around $1,200 and right now it's like $125. That's actually a great entry if you are a long-term guy entering into this space. Now, can it go a little bit lower? Who knows? It possibly can reach 90, 95, who knows? But is it a good place to enter? In my opinion, I do think so. Why? You take this one. Now, it's not just promoting this project. I'm not big into that. I'm just saying this is how you look at charts. We had this, we called out for close to 100 and it's now there. And that call was somewhere when the price was like $400 and people were buying this like crazy. So you look at the indicators and you are like, okay, that's huge. Meaning, it's oversold and the selling volume is reducing. So similarly, you go on XRP on a weekly chart and you look at XRP and the volume is slowly increasing and majority is actually buying volume, which is great information because when you go on to a daily to look at that one, you kind of see a trend which is forming where you're slowly going to the upside. Say delete all this and look at the MACD. Then look at the RSI. You are looking like, okay, the trend is slowly changing. We are making higher highs. We are going with higher lows and a rounded bottom. So if that stays valid and the price and the market slowly moves, you're going to get a burst in between and we are going to move higher. When? No one knows. But are you prepared for that? Is the main question. Because if you have the stomach to digest these, you're going to make that profit too. But if not, it's not going to be possible. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see these charts, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So I'll meet you on the next video. Bye for now.